And hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome into the Tim and Jim Show. I'm Tim Sohn, hanging out here at Lakewell and Podpack. Actually, I'm not really there, but don't tell anyone. Shh. And I'm so excited to be here on the Tim and Jim Show. And hello, my friend Jim Fuse, over there at your. Where are you?
I'm in Marietta, Georgia, in my basement control ship of my studio here, and glad to be back. And we got a
Yeah.
lot to talk about today. We're going to be doing a review about PodFest that was in Orlando, Florida, and Tim was there as well. So we were, as I like to say sometimes, we were peopling. We were
Peopling.
actually,
Yeah, it was great to be peopling, right,
yes,
Jim?
yes. So stayed at the is it the SeaWorld Renaissance, which is where the conference was, and yeah, we saw a lot of our friends and made new friends and learned a lot about not just podcasting, but things that are going on in the podcasting community. And I mean, I thought it was a great conference, and it was the 9th, and the 10th is next year. So there, I know. Social Media Marketing World is going to be having their 10th anniversary conference in, actually, I can't say next month because it's February today. Where did January go to?
Yes. I know it was just yesterday,
Yes,
and
it
now it's
that was good.
February.
That was
That's how it
good.
works. Yeah.
Just yesterday. Oh gosh. So
Ima
yeah, so what were your initial thoughts, Tim? I mean, what did you think of Podfest?
Yeah, so this was my first Podfest, and, I really didn't plan on attending Podfest, but then I heard some other people I knew were going, like you, Jim, and some other people, and I really wanted to attend a conference I hadn't been to before, and I really know or knew nothing or very little about podcasting. And so I wanted to learn about podcasting because I had heard from some people that they thought that I should possibly convert the Showing Up show into a podcast. And we talked about converting the Tim and Jim show into a podcast. And so I was just interested in learning more and also wanted to meet some new people. So I definitely learned some new things and met some new people. Um, and I met some new people in the cancer space, which I really was. Even the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was there. People that work on their audio podcasts. So made some awesome connections. Had some really deep conversations with people that I was not expecting, and that's one of the really cool things about conferences. I think is those spontaneous conversations that you just don't expect, right, Jim?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like I was, honored to do a panel with Ross Brand and Chris Stone and Jeff C about
Yeah.
how you can turn your podcast into an Amazon Live. And one of the people that was there watching the show, and she, put a tweet out about it later. She actually got approved for the program
I saw
after
that.
listening to us, and so now now she got to figure out how to do it. So it's funny
Yeah.
because it seems like and we did this back in May, we did a full day. This time was just a panel, and there was a bunch of other speakers, but we're helping people move forward, right? This is giving people maybe a chance to monetize their podcast. People talk about monetizing their live streams and their podcast. And so that was really cool. And, just it was great to be on stage with those three amazing gentlemen. And then, of course, we're both in Ross's book, and he had a book signing. That was neat too to get to see the author and several of the contributors, yourself included, right? We both have been in
Yes.
Ross's book, so not too late to go out and buy it. There's some great advice, great tips.
It was also my first time meeting Ross Brand. I had never met him in
Really?
person before.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the third time I've seen him because he was at the last Podfest, and then the first time I actually meet him was at Social Media Week Lima, and this was back, wow, probably 2019. It was pre-COVID. That's the
Okay.
first time I met him, and he was talking about, I think she's off, yes, Alexa flash briefings.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes, which I think are still available and are a thing, so to speak, but I don't know that we, all think about it. You know, it's one of those things you would have to
Yeah.
advertise. Remember, Lindsay Anderson used to be really big into those when
Yeah.
they first came out. Yeah, I'll have to see if she's been keeping up with those. I'm gonna go do a Lindsay test at some point. But I think, yeah, so I mean, really a lot of interesting stuff. And Katie Simpson, great to see you. You're such a, you know, I want to thank you. I know Tim does as well. You are a great supporter of the show. We appreciate you. And so thanks for being here today. And I think Katie's been doing some stuff. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, because that's what, you know, wives and women do to men. Uh, but I think you do a podcast, Katie. Is that correct? I
I
know she
believe she
does some.
helps people with podcasts also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Tim, maybe you can talk to Katie a little bit. She can help you get some ideas about perspectives. So I'm going to let you go first, Tim. We'll kind of go back and forth. What was one thing that you either learned about, saw there that you would think our viewers, you know, whether you're watching live now or replay later, would want to think about, maybe hadn't thought of, that you came across at the conference?
Yeah, so one thing that I was interested in, and I'm sure our viewers would be interested in, is the idea of monetizing. And so I don't have a podcast yet, and some of you may not have a podcast yet, but maybe you have a live stream show, and maybe some of these podcast monetizing ideas would work for your live stream show as well. So I was thinking for the Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer show, and this was a panel that Lou Mangello was on. I think Jim, you were there. Were you there for that panel?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I can't remember if it was him or maybe it was somebody else on the panel that had this idea, or I think they actually do it, that they have monthly, I think it's Zoom calls where they bring together their community kind of thing. And I think they charge like $25 for a monthly call or something like that.
Right. They're using Patreon, that's
Oh,
correct.
Patreon, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of maybe doing something like that with Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer. Um, so that idea of bringing community together beyond a live stream show or a podcast, where you can actually bring your community together on something like a Zoom call or something like that. So I'll start with that idea. What about you, Jim?
Yeah, that was actually a really good idea. That I'm glad you brought that one up, because you know, that's something you and I have talked about before. And
Yeah.
I mean, it might even be something we would do for this show. And oh, great to see. Yeah, so Sue Ann, great to see you. And Brian Kennedy. Yes, Brian, last week we were gonna attempt to go live, it just didn't work out. It wasn't necessarily the greatest place to find a spot to go live with.
Mhm.
But great to see you as well, Brian. And Brian, I'm proud of Brian because he's finally started to do video. I see his videos on LinkedIn where he's
Me too.
giving some of his words of wisdom. So good job, Brian, and glad to see that. Um, you know, so I want to kind of give a shout out in a way, well, not in a way, to our friends at StreamYard who were there.
Yes.
And I'm going to go ahead and say it, you know, because I'm sure they'll be glad to you know, share this news with others. But they said this was the best event that they have ever been at as a company. The amount of people that, you know, signed up, wanted to learn more, was just, you know, blew them away. And because what's happening is that StreamYard, for those of you that have maybe been under a rock, now has not only individual audio tracks, but also individual video tracks. So right now, as I'm recording this show, getting a file for just Tim's video, a file for just my video. We have our audio as well. And so I can take this content and repurpose it. I can make us do some short, you know, videos. And you know what, Tim? We got to start, I guess, we'll start beating each other up about that. We
Yeah.
should start doing that with our content,
Yeah.
and, you know, put it out on YouTube as some shorts so people maybe will come back and watch the full episode, or just like the short tidbits of great information that we get, not only from like when we sometimes get a bright idea, but definitely our guests, because we get some great guests on this show. And so I thought that that was I was great, glad to hear that. And StreamYard is actually, I think I can say it, is coming out with an app. It's going to be on the phone
I
that you'll be
thought
able
maybe
to.
I was like dreaming or something when
No,
I
it's
heard that.
it's
I
not
got
a dream, Tim.
it's
It's
really
coming
happening.
soon, very soon. And they've got some other stuff out on the timeline for, I think, this quarter. I think they're looking at doing custom overlays. So we'll be able to do other views than what you've seen here. You should be able to do some more customization. And I believe also on the roadmap is scenes. So just like some of the other live streaming software, they're
Yeah.
doing that. And one of the things that I really appreciate about StreamYard, Tim, and I know I've talked with Chris Stone and I have talked about this as well, is StreamYard doesn't release stuff until it's ready, right? Because you got to remember their three pillars are stream stability, ease of use, and professional looking streams. And so they make sure to wait until it's ready for prime time so that people are like, "Ah, it's not working. What's going on?" And I think that's a really smart move. It may frustrate
Yeah.
people sometimes, but they want, but it's like, "You know what? Hear you, but until it's ready, you're just gonna have to wait." So, those things are coming. I think that's exciting.
Very
They've released the
exciting.
webinar,
Yeah.
piece, which you can, and they're gonna continue to improve that as well. So if you wanna use StreamYard instead of Zoom for webinars, that's now a thing, and you don't have to pay extra. Like with Zoom, you gotta pay, I think it's $45 to add the webinar feature, and that's per month. And, so I think that's another great thing as well. So it's great to hear about StreamYard, who helps us, power this show, have all this great stuff going on with them. So go back to you, Tim. I'll let you have what else did you see that really caught you by, I don't know, surprise, pleasure, however you want to put it.
Yeah. So one thing that caught me by surprise was Zach Demopoulos, and I can't remember the other guy's name who co-hosted it. Sorry, Zach, if you're watching live or on the replay, let us know who the co-host was. Or if the co-host is watching live or on the replay, let us know who you are. There was a healthcare meetup at this event,
Uh,
which I was not expecting at all. And it was really cool because at this meetup, first they had kind of a brief introduction, but then, and it was a good sized meetup. And we all had a chance to introduce ourselves, say what our connection to healthcare was, and just kind of share about if we had a podcast or a live stream show and things like that. And then we got to connect with each other afterwards. And that was really cool because there weren't many events at this event, I think, that were like that. Like when you're networking, you kind of like have to put yourself out there, or if you're at where there's a speaker, the person speaking, and then maybe you catch them afterwards, kind of thing. So this was cool because they gave you the opportunity to share about yourself and then connect with people afterwards. Um, so after that event, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was actually there in the room, and they have an audio podcast. So I spoke with them afterwards, and so I'm going to have the opportunity to be on their audio podcast, sharing my story. And I connected with the woman who was there from LLS. She's an acute leukemia survivor, and she's going to be on Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer. And there were several other people who had cancer connections as well in the group who are going to be on Showing Up, where we could collaborate in some other ways. So that was really cool. I was not expecting this at PodFest at all. So that was very surprising to me. Um,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the great things about the Podfest community is that there are these people from so many diverse areas, because
yeah,
I think sometimes even more so than live streaming, podcast even has like further niches down, right? I mean, you could do a podcast about your local community. I mean, Chris actually helps. It's called Lancaster Connects, right? It's a mattress company up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, that interviews local businesses and nonprofits. And I think it's more nonprofits, but they turn that into a podcast, and it really gets a lot of downloads up in their neck of the woods, and I thought that's a pretty, neat idea, which kinda goes into one of the things that is really starting to grow, and Roberto Blake even, touched on this as well, but it is if podcasting and video are starting to become more and more one thing. We call it video podcast. What does that really mean? YouTube is supposedly has video podcasts now. So some shows are getting classified as that, even though they may not have a audio podcast to go along with it. So that's why you're seeing companies like StreamYard and some of these others really uh, pushing people to say, "Hey, you can use our software to do this," because people are like, "Oh, but I need to have video of my podcast." Because I don't know, I know some people like it. I'm not real big on audiograms, right? I mean, sure, you could stick
Yeah.
your podcast up on YouTube and just have a static picture and people would see the lines. And, yeah, and Sue Ann brings up a great point, so many great ways to repurpose content and reach new audience versus audio and video, and I would agree with that 100%. Because that kinda goes back to and I know it's still available, I just don't know if people are using it. You could, it goes back to the Alexa flash briefings, right? Those are audio. So people could, do a short audio thing that would be like, "Hey, on this week's show, this is what we're talking about." And so it doesn't have to stay out there, in a way. I mean, it kinda ages just like podcasts do, but, yeah, I've seen a lot of people and here's the other funny thing. There are I've heard, what, 58 million YouTube, uh, channels. Doesn't
Oh,
mean that they're all posting video, but
right.
it's a much smaller percentage that's actually made it to the 1,000 subscribers or more. Podcast, there's only probably about 200,000 active podcasts, right? Even though there's been a lot more people what tends to happen is people will do a few podcast episodes and then they go into what we call pod fade, like they just stop doing it because for whatever reason. And so I think, those are some of those things that there's definitely still opportunity in the audio space. I mean, because even when you look at and they, I don't know, I think there was some talks, but I wasn't able to make every talk because
Yeah.
trust me, there's like multiple sessions
There's
going
a
on at
lot.
the same time.
Yeah.
But I do think there was some talk about LinkedIn audio as an example because I know
Mm,
Vinny Positivo and Judy Fox do a podcast on LinkedIn where
mm,
they're recording stuff. They record it. I think they're repurposing it. I'll have to check on that. But it was great to meet Vinny. He's a really good guy. And but yeah, so audio is out there, but it's also getting that video component in there and being able to, add that out there. And so if you want to learn more, they're not even waiting till next year. April 17th to 20th, they're going to do the PodFest Global Online Summit. And so I put the link into the chat so you can check it out and sign up to get more information when it's going to be out there. And yeah, they do a great job with that. Believe it or not, Tim, they'll probably use the Hoover app for that as well. So
love that.
people will be able to network even though it's virtual, as well as they will probably have some Zoom meetups where people will be able to connect. So they've done a great job with the virtual ones. I've spoke at I think 2 or 3 of them. I definitely spoke at the couple that broke the Guinness Book of World Records. And so yeah, so Hoover was kind of crazy too, because I mean, there's like leaderboards and ways to make, and there are people that had like I don't even know. I felt like they must have like lived on Hoover by the amount of engagement that they had.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I'm out. I'm not gonna try to keep up with these people, as well. And then and then I also, speaking of video, met a company called Cinemaker that
Mhm.
is allowing you to take your Zooms and, or you can live stream with it, but it's like you can customize it so it doesn't even look like it's Zoom. And I found out they actually have I don't know if it's their main office, but they have an office here in Atlanta. And so,
Wow, all the things are in Atlanta, Jim.
it's a great city,
It is.
and Super Bowl's coming in well. Yes, Gabe Aloisi, great to see you. And Gabe had a great talk as well, and learned a
Awesome,
lot
Gabe.
from him. Yeah, Gabe, you definitely wanna check out his YouTube channel, Let's Play Through. He's a great guy, and he's also been doing stuff on Amazon. I think Chris and I it was funny, he had got disapproved. He was on Dealcasters, and then he tried again, and he got approved. So it's kinda funny,
Oh,
how it works out. But Gabe is a great in the golf industry with what he does he does videos about golf stuff and other things, and, he's also, right, had to do some shifting, but I think it's been quite successful for him. So Gabe, thanks for showing up. And, yeah, we're lucky. And so, yeah, so go check out Let's Play Through, and you'll see how he's kinda changed how he does video, and, I thought that was he brought up some great tips there. Ooh, I don't know, have
yeah. Are you okay, Jim?
I'm okay, something in my throat. Um, so Tim, what else did you see with the conference that you liked? Or
I
just
went to a
yeah.
session email on
Ooh,
email marketing and that kind of thing, and I was thinking that's important
yes.
because of, the different social platforms, and that's really rented land, and the importance of creating email lists for shows, right? Whether it's for our shows or people who are watching. And then creating a lead magnet, you know.
So, this reminds me too, real quick, Gabe gave an example of how he did a giveaway on YouTube, right? Because you can't do giveaways on Amazon. There's some people been getting in trouble lately, and he got 15,000 emails from doing a giveaway on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. Wow. And so that's a great way to build up your list, is by, having people like, "Hey, you gotta enter." And, of course, he's probably given I think, he gives away some nice golf stuff, right? I could probably find something we could give away that people would actually maybe sign up for, but I think too, he's done a good job of building a community, and that was really neat to hear some of those stories. But back to you, Tim.
No, that's really what I wanted to say about email is just the importance of it. And I don't remember too many details of it right now, but just the
But yeah,
importance.
because you own your email list, nobody else does, right?
Exactly.
We could get kicked
Yeah.
off of Facebook while we're speaking right now, and, never be allowed back on because we said how nice YouTube is.
Yeah.
And so I think, so the other thing that I've learned about, and they were there in full force, is Podmatch, and I'm going to share the, what I call the my Podmatch link. And so what Podmatch allows you to do is, let's say you're looking for guests or you wanna be a guest, because sometimes what people forget is that, um, you know, I don't know, I like to call it the when you're thinking about "Oh, well, I wanna have a show," but then you say, "You know what? I don't have time to have a show." So one of the best things you can do as a business, as a personal brand, is be a guest on other people's shows because,
Yes.
even like us, we look for guests.
Mhm.
Gabe, maybe you'd like to be on the show sometimes. And Russ Hedge, congratulations on episode 100 today with you and D. Scott
Yes.
Smith. I'm sure it was an amazing show.
You know what that deserves, Jim?
A
Do you
goat?
know what it deserves?
A screaming goat?
Congratulations, Russ.
Yes, and so, but yeah, but Podmatch will allow you to, what we say, uh, set up a guest profile, and that way it sends you potential matches based on how you've written up your profile. And so that I think is a great way, to build up your getting out there and being a guest on shows that are relevant to you. And then if you're a host, you can also put your show out there. So that's kinda how they match. Like, okay, they take the shows that are on Podmatch, they take the people that are looking for guests, and they match them. It's like, online dating for podcasts. But I think, maybe I should talk to Alex about this, but I think this would be something that would work in the live streaming space. Now,
Hmm.
actually, I got to give some credit. StreamYard has done that with Collab. Okay. In StreamYard, they have a new thing called Collab where you can set up a profile. And actually, we did have a guest on our show through Collab. Charvette was on our show, and that's how we connected because you can say what type of guest you're looking for. And great to see the legendary Chris Stone. It was fun to hang out with him, and glad that we made it back safely, Chris. So
Yes.
we we have some stories about a new product we learned about as well, and
Oh,
you're gonna laugh, and it's not what you think. It's Chad GPT, not Chat, because we also learned about Chat GPT. But we're trying to get Chad to start Chad GPT as his own little funny brand because you know how he likes to wear his kind of throwback clothing, and
yes.
it will do that. Oh, and James Hicks. Oh, awesome. He is another amazing human being. I was honored to hang out with you at Podcast Movement there, James Hick, and I'm going to be going to Denver for that in August. Hopefully, you will be there too, because that was fun hanging out with you. And the Ecamm fam was there at Podcast Movement, and so yeah, if you haven't checked out James Hicks, you need to. The he is just he's amazing. He brings honor to the name James, Jim, however you want to put it. Uh, so yeah, but Chad was a lot of fun. He made it, and he's starting a podcast, I believe, with Joey Garrity, and he may also be starting one with Valerie Morris. And so, but
Cool.
yeah, so Podmatch is amazing. I know Chris uses it for Dealcasters as well as for some of his clients use it as well. So I know Podmatch is a really good tool. Alex Sanfilippo started it up, has built a community with that as well. They do podcast masterminding, and yes, and so Chris is asking when is Hicks Fest, and he's saying stay tuned, stay tuned. Um, and speaking of that, you're going to have another uh, perspectives on cancer in real life thing, aren't you?
I am. It's on September 30th in Pennsylvania again.
See, so
Yeah.
now you're further out, so you can plan even as they would say in Hawaii, mo better,
Just like that. I
mo
couldn't have
better.
said it that way at all, Jim. So I'm glad you said it.
I lived in Hawaii a long, long time ago, and yeah, so I learned all that slang, and our friend Doc
Yeah.
Rock lives that every day, and
Yeah.
so
I just wanted to say I'm excited because Erica Campbell, my co-host on Showing Up, is going to be coming this year and helping me plan the event. So
nice,
I'm excited for that this
nice.
time.
Are you
So
planning to make it bigger?
I'm hoping it will be bigger.
Very good.
Yes, I'm
Different
hoping.
location? I mean, same location or
Probably same, maybe different. No, it's still a little ways out,
right?
so but not too far out. It's not February,
I
March,
know it's
April,
already
May,
February.
June, July, August. It's 7 months out. You're making me Jim, you're making me get out the screaming goat. That's 2 times now.
Oh, goodness.
But I'm excited. I'm excited. I love in-person events, so
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I've got at least right now, I have 2, I would say definitely that I'm planning to attend, and that's Social Media Week Lima and
Mm.
Podcast Movement, and then we'll see. There may be some others, but, we'll have to do, and, Chris Stone, Mo Better Blues is a classic. Yes. Yes, it is.
Ah,
Um, and so, but yeah, so yeah, lots of great stuff. I mean, and that so I know we were kidding about Chad GPT, but we weren't really kidding,
yes.
Chad. You need to start it, or we're gonna like buy all the domains and do that. But Chat GPT was really, really a big topic of conversation. Larry Roberts did a packed room
Mm.
talk about it, I know Chris is using it with to really it's something that you can use the AI to help you with your show notes. It's not like it's creating the podcast, but it's helping in post production. And then even if you think about AI, right? Tim, I think you just started using it as well. Our friends over at Lately,
I
right?
did.
Lately is using AI to help you find those clips within your videos that you can use to repurpose content, and it takes takes a lot of time. Ooh, that's a good what does GPT stand for? Hmm. Do you know, Tim?
I have no idea. We'll have to ask the Google or the Alexa or the something.
Or maybe we should ask ChatGPT.
Right.
Hey, ChatGPT, what does ChatGPT stand for? Um, so Katie, Lately is a program that uh, Kate and her company have created that you can take your video. Well, it's not just video. You can take your content and it figures out, it gives you clips and it'll let you then take that clip of content and put it out on the interwebs in like minutes. Like you could take an article that you wrote, you put in the URL, and it'll say, here's like 15 different tweets that you could use from this article, and then take people back to the original article. So think about doing that with video, where it actually has the video, it captions it, and it gives you the words as well above. And
Yeah.
yeah, Chris has used that, but a lot of other programs are starting to do that as well. Descript, I think, is also will allow you to do some of that. And but yeah, just an amazing tool to because think how long it would take you as an individual to go through a video and figure out like, oh, where's all that different stuff. And which reminds me too, I think StreamYard is releasing something here shortly that will help you create vertical video and shorts out of your content.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know if it's in there yet, but yeah,
Oh,
but you would
so
still have to find it, right? And that's where the AI helps. But I've used it as I think where the AI is look, thank you, Sue. Of course, Sue Ann would do this because she's smart. And it's
yes.
generative. I'm gonna share this to the screen for all our viewers here. Generative pre-trained transformer. Ah,
I mean, I would have totally thought of that.
it makes me think of the Transformers, which are kind of futuristic
Did
things.
you have any of those, Jim? The Transformers?
You know what? I think I might have.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember having this really little one, like
yeah.
really tiny one.
Oh, and then she said she also heard someone say something different for the GPT using P as predictive.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But have you played with it at all, Tim?
I haven't yet. I haven't. You have, right?
I have, and I think it's great for coming up with ideas. I don't
Right.
think that I would necessarily use it as like, you know, because at face value, what it's not adding the human element.
Right.
And so I think that that's where, we need to will it allow some people, to do things quicker and faster and say, well, I don't need to hire this person to do this or that. I could see that. But I also think at some point it'll be, yeah, this doesn't sound like a person. This sounds like they just grabbed it out of, Chat GPT or whatever program is coming up. And so I think that's where you got to be careful with this stuff. But I will also say, don't put your head in the sand and think it's going to go away because it's not. I mean,
Right.
you've got Midjourney and Dolly and some of these other programs where people are making AI art. Uh,
Right.
our friend Mitch Jackson has now written two books assisted by AI, but he's been upfront about it. And so he's adding his piece to it. He just wrote a book about blockchain and AI, and he wrote another book with his son. And they called their AI assistant's name was Kai, Kai,
Mm.
and wrote a whole book on that stuff. So it's interesting, for sure, and I think you were just gonna see it continue to grow. And they're at, I think, GPT, like, 3.5, so there's versions of that, and so
Hmm.
I don't know when 4.0 is coming out, but I did see an article about it because you can follow OpenAI's company page on LinkedIn,
Okay.
and but it's gonna go so as an example, I think there's and I could be off on my numbers, we'll say 175 billion, I don't know, things it can do. This is gonna go, like, to the next level, like, it's gonna be 5 times more than that with 4.0. So if you think it's smart now, it's even gonna get smarter, but you still have to think of the prompts, right? You have
Mm.
to say, "What am I gonna ask it?" So if you add a bad question, you get a
Right.
bad answer. So you have to
Right.
really, but you can go in there and say, "Ah, that's not really what I meant. Add this," and it's pretty fascinating. Like, I did a question to it the other day, and to show, my wife, it was like, uh, "What are the advantages over a court reporter over a digital recorder?" Right? So I asked the question, and, like, literally, it spit it out that fast. 5 different ways that court reporters were better than digital, what they call recorders. Because what
Yeah.
happens is happening in the courtroom is they're trying to do away with the human, the person that sits down there and takes down what you and I are saying. And in some cases, your life depends on the transcript, right? So if you think about this, Tim, what do we always say about video? What's the most important thing?
Audio.
Yes, you get a Dunkin' Donuts for that.
Oh,
And and so because of that, think about it. In some of these courtrooms, which is kinda shocking, and you even saw it a little bit in some of the things that would go on with the rooms at PodFest, the audio is horrible, right?
yeah.
And so if you've got this digital recorder trying to capture this audio in a loud room that's not well, there's not, like, somebody going back like, "Oh, it didn't capture it," or maybe people start talking over each other. The on the other side, taking that audio down and trying to put it into what who said what doesn't happen, where with a court reporter, they'll literally say, like, "Sir, I need you to stop," right? They're like what we call the guardian of the record. That's a term that is used, for that. So it was just really interesting that here were these 5 reasons why a court reporters need to still be there and not this, "Oh, well, if we get rid of the court reporter, we can just, do all this digitally and all our problems will be solved and we'll save money." So I think
Right.
that's the problem sometimes, that people don't always think of the implications of when we put technology in place. And it's not to say that the technology won't get there. And here's the other thing. What happens if the digital gets damaged? What if it gets lost? What if people are able to figure out a way to manipulate it, right?
Right.
There's all these things that could happen, and I mean, I'm not trying to scare everyone. And
Right.
ooh, yes. So he's going to podcast movement in Denver. I don't James Hicks, but it's they just opened up speaker applications, so maybe you should apply to speak, Mr. Hicks, because you are an amazing speaker in your own right. So that's something to consider. If I do come across a code though, I will definitely share it with you, but I have not seen one yet. But yeah, so James Hicks is going. We will hang out in Denver for sure. Sure. Oh, and then Sue Anna says that Google is going to be introducing 3 levels of AI, supposedly better than
Mm.
that GPT. We will see, right? Because there is a lot out there, and they all kinda have access to this, I guess, initial database. It was, like, open source, and Microsoft just spent 10, was it billion, I think, to
Whoa.
buy it. And so
Wow.
the, Oh, yes. I like what Sue Ann says. How about the purpose of technology to make it easier to connect with humans versus taking over? Yes. Very true. Very true. And I think sometimes we forget about that. So, that yeah, so Sue Ann gets some stars, right? If we could do little gold stars, we'd have them flying up for her comment. That, that's you used to be able to do that on Periscope. You could, like, hit the heart button and the hearts would go flying up the side. Just kinda like Amazon does that on their platform. People can hit this stuff and it, like, flies up. So I know yeah, no stars here today, unfortunately. And, so yeah, amazing conference. Any other things that
It would
jumped
be.
out at you, Tim?
No. Well, I spoke to someone who is a vendor, um, Disctopia. We were talking about podcasting,
Mhm.
and I was talking about the different shows, and he was saying also how podcasting could help you reach different demographics. Because I was talking how LinkedIn for both shows is really where we get the most engagement from. Although I
Mhm.
see James Hicks is joining us from YouTube, and so is Chris Stone. So that's awesome. And also Sue Ann is joining from Facebook.
Mhm.
Is LinkedIn working today? Um, but we love you no matter where you joined from. But he was saying how podcasting could also get you in front of different demographics. He was even saying like younger demographics also. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, and I would just say, if anything, what PodFest has done for me and some of these other conferences is, right, keep an open mind. I mean, I tend to think I do to begin with. Things are gonna continually evolve and change, and, you know, and what I love about PodFest specifically is the community. It's a great community. Tim, you should now be in the Facebook group now that you went to the, event. If not, I'll make sure you get in there. And, yeah, Chris Krimitsos is a great, not only a great human being, great American, and he's always looking to help people, just do better and be better. And, so definitely grateful for him. And, so looking forward to Podfest Global, and then next year, they don't have the date yet, but the 10th anniversary of Podfest. And what's nice is, right, it's here on the East Coast. We don't have to travel quite as far, Tim.
It's
And,
in the same time zone.
yeah,
There's no
right,
jet lag, any of that.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only the other type of, lag, like internet lag. No kidding. Um,
Ba-dum-bum.
yeah, so we'll be back next week. We not sure who the guest is going to be yet, and but
Mm.
we're here in February, folks. So if you're watching on the replay, let us know what you want to know about podcasting, and maybe we'll get some more guests on here because it is becoming more of a video and audio are merging, and it's all getting crazy,
Just like that.
just
Yes.
like that. Any final thoughts, Tim?
No, just thank you everyone who's tuning in live or on the replay. We appreciate you all for showing up here on the Tim and Jim Show.
All right. Well, we'll see y'all next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye
Bye.
bye.